myself.
Are you gonna?
Am I recording? I can. Okay, yeah, so I thought today's lecture was important enough that I would project myself onto the screen. No, that's going to go away. I want to go over as much as we can. We're at a nice transition point. It might be interesting, some of us might have thought about that we're in an advanced writing class in the beginning of week 3, and we haven't done anything to go over actually making our writing better. It's all been theory. So from here on out, especially starting today, we're going to actually pivot to look at writing in specific and how these theories actually apply to our writing. How many of us did want to use this class to improve our writing skills? Great. I'm going to use that as a transition as we move forward. I think this is one of the most helpful pieces of information in the class. It's known as PP-Dre. No, I just made that up. So just remember, when you're stuck on writing, PP-Dre. No. There are, when we talk about writing, there's actually 5, maybe we could probably actually count this as 8 if we wanted to, but we're going to call 5 sub-processes of writing. So if we're going to get better at writing, we're getting better at some of these. We're going to play Family Feud. What are the parts of writing? Anyone? You don't need to go in order. This is actually a sequential order for most people. We'll have a caveat because different people write differently. But these are, I think it helps to break down writing into its distinct processes so we can see what we're doing well and where we could improve. Spencer. Planning is, survey says, the second P. There's 2 other words. I guess I could have put outlining here and then it would have been podre. Oh, you know what? Arranging our ideas. Oh! And by arranging, we mean planning, outlining, structuring. I don't do this step very well. Okay, yeah, Alice. No, so that would be no. Ellen. Proposal, no. This first P is going to be a tough one. No, thanks Bitzer for playing. It is not problem. Sarah. The R is revision. These are your big picture details. I'm sorry, not big picture. Big picture. We're going to call this the chopping block. D is giraffing. Rhymes with giraffing. Drafting should be shitty. Anne Lamont's one of my favorite books is Bird by Bird on writing. She wrote the essay Shitty First Drafts. Did anybody read that in CO 150? It's in our reader as well. It's good. She's basically saying that nobody writes a good first draft. And that anything that you see that is like, wow, this is well written, is probably on its 3rd or 4th or 5th draft. So don't judge the quality of your writing based on the quality of your drafts. I do want to slow down here. Why is it important for our drafts to be shitty? Yeah, KJ. That's one of them. You don't need to censor yourself. You can word vomit all of your ideas out so you can choose from them later. Why else should drafts be shitty, Alan? Yes, so we can make them better. There's another really practical reason why drafts should be shitty. Nick? Why shouldn't you be spending so much time on it? We're really close here. You do want to spend more time on your revisions. I'll just say this. How many of you have spent a lot of time polishing or making something really good, only to realize later that you probably should just delete that section, you don't actually need it? One of the best ways to improve our writing, especially in longer pieces, is to delete stuff. And that is hard if we spend a long time on it. But I really like this thing. I spent so long on it. Your audience doesn't care. Right? So you're trying to, that's why. Okay, the P and the E. The E should be easy. Next to revision is editing. And we're going to say editing is about the small details. I want to say, like, this is like a fine-tooth comb. Reading your word, combs. Multiple combs. That's good. And the first P in padre. Yeah, so it could be badre. There's a lot of things that go into pre-writing. We could call this brainstorming. I honestly think reading goes in here, and my favorite word for this is collecting. Ooh, it could be cadre. Well, not the writing processes I definitely did not make up. The deal is that there's a lot of words for, there could be a lot of words for the arranging stage. Remember, I had PP-dre when I started, but I thought we could change arranging. It's basically putting your ideas together. Okay, of these, so pre-writing is everything you do before you actually start writing. I like collecting. What kinds of things are we collecting in our pre-writing? Yeah, info and quotes, resources. It's kind of like before you go to paint, you're getting all your colors in one place. Before you put all your ideas on paper, you collect your ideas in a really haphazard way, and then you put them, you like copy and paste. Of these 5, which do you suppose professional writers say that you should spend the most time on? Let's hold up our votes. Ready, set, vote.
Oh, hold up the number.
Yeah. Hold up the number. We got 1s, 3s, 4s. 1s win the day. Most votes, it is 1. Now, this changes in different situations, but why spend a lot of time? Oh yes, Zoom. Okay. Why spend a lot of time on pre-writing, which they say actually spend up to 50% of our time. So if we look at the time spent on a writing process as 100%, up to 50% is on the pre-writing. Why is that recommendation given, Ella? They take way longer. It's better to over collect and then choose from that than be like, oh, I got to go back, or oh, I get to go back. Of these 5, which are you the strongest at already? Put a smiley face. And that's how many people would say, or yeah, we could just put up your vote. Which are we strongest at? 2 is outlining, which usually happens pretty quickly. It's like, oh, I can just do this. I'm not very good at that one. Some 4 is strong revision. That's rare and awesome. That's really what makes our writing great. What do we need the most practice at? Like, what would we want to spend the most time on? Pre-writing is a really interesting one. I love that bid. 4 is a big one, and 5 potentially. So I want to encourage us to just to make note of that, and then honestly, like, give ourselves more time to do that as we go. Cool. What I want to do, any comments on this? Have we seen something like this before? I made it look linear, but it's more cyclical. There is, like, we could say the 6th stage is submitting, like, actually, like, especially if you're writing online, hitting the publish button is a big one. Like, actually shipping, publishing is a big step. So it's kind of like 1 through 5 go around in the circle until you hit the deadline. At that point, you cannot change your work. It's therefore dead. Which is why it's a deadline. Okay. All right. I want to keep this in line with why we're going to do what we're about to do. This week, we're moving from theory to application. Rhetorical analysis, which is what we're going to do our first 2 major writing assignments on, is connected to rhetorical analysis. You're going to rhetorically analyze an article, and then for project 1, then you're going to rhetorically analyze an employer and job posting of your choice to write a targeted cover letter for project 2. So your analysis and targeted cover letter, that's like week 6 and 7. What we're doing this week is we're looking at rhetorical analysis using Bitzer's model and how it's applied. this gives us a means of improving our own writing because we can see, is actually, why would rhetorically analyzing other people's writing improve our own writing? Yeah, Daniel. Avoid things that don't work. Why else?
I think it can help you find your voice.
That's great. There's another, just one other really big one. Bitzer says, in order, if we're going to write well, what do we really need to get better at? And reading what? I know, well, reading what well? Situation. So in other words, understanding exigence, audience, and constraints in every act of communication. Like what, everything I've done so far, why did I choose to do it this way in this class? There's problems that need to be addressed. We're in a writing class, we haven't talked about writing yet. I need to amend that. Okay. I do want to, we should have some time at the end of class or the second half of class to look at some of your forum posts if you want to practice revising. So we're going to look at some writing. I'm going to talk about how I would revise them. So if you want to email me at sean.waters@collegestate.edu your draft, and I'll put it up on the board with your name not attached to it, and we can look at it as a class and see. I'll just let you know how I would revise it. Cool. Okay. Just real quickly, so we're on the same page. Rhetorical theory overview. Bitzer versus Vatz. The cow says, moo. Bitzer says, Bitzer says the cow's in pain. No, I'm just trying to say, how do we say this very simply? What's Bitzer say? No, it has nothing to do with the cow. Just forget the cow. Bitzer says, maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, thank you, Spencer. Yes, situations give rise to rhetoric. He also says situations prescribe a fitting response to rhetoric. One of my favorite things on the first discussion forum is that some students said that they wanted to improve their revision skills. I'm not going to be able to, never mind. So fitting response is really big. And what dictates whether or not it's a fitting response? What is the situation that we're paying attention to? This is, or the three components of Bitzer's situation. Yes, and that is where the magic is going to happen, where we're going to spend the most time today. What is the exigence?
Problem.
Who is the audience? Not necessarily. Yeah, who can, not only who are willing to be persuaded, but who can what? Yeah, those who can fix the problem or change the situation that the problem is arising out of. I want to be more specific. And the constraints are everything, but not everything, it's everything that limits the audience. Oops, everything that limits or affects the audience's ability. We'll say affects, we have limits, or affects the audience, such as in today's world, let's say you're writing something in a professional environment that you want to be taken seriously. What constraints might come up? What kinds of things are going to impact the audience's ability to go along with what you're saying? Spencer. Ooh. I'm going to put that under, okay, yeah, we'll put words. Really interesting. like some words like swearing or slang might affect an audience based on their beliefs about words. Yeah, Ella. Yeah, interesting. That one didn't come up in my other class, and I didn't even think about that. Their awareness of the issue. What else? Other constraints. Yeah. Yeah, Nick. Yeah. It's such a different list than my first class gave. It's so interesting.
I feel like instead of using words, I would use the word language. The language that you use.
Are you trying to be sarcastic?
No.
It's kind of like, instead of that word, I'm going to choose a different word. My word is language.
That's so good.
Okay. Baggage.
I don't get it.
I just thought it was ironic that you were saying, like, instead of words, you're going to use a different word.
Yeah, that is ironic.
It's funny. Okay, next one. Yeah, Ella. I like that. And I'm going to add in relevance. So not whether or not it's relevant to me. Think people's biases affect the way they see stuff? How about their opinions?
Or their culture or where they grew up.
How about the force of tradition? Oh boy, what's up, TikTok? Maybe money. How many of you want things to be easy? How many of you value your time like as something like you would like to save time if you could, and you don't want to waste your time? Wow, that's another really good one. That's easily overlooked by people who have access and not overlooked by people who do not. Okay, of these, which are most important? Wrong. Wrong.
You can't rank them.
Trick question. Of these, which is most important?
For me,
No. No.
relevance.
Wrong.
None of them.
Wrong.
Language.
Wrong. Wrong.
Does it affect your audience?
It depends. Which of these are most important? The ones that apply in the situation we're talking about. And in fact, it's hard to even talk about this in an abstract sense. It depends. Okay, we're going to start to play a new game this semester. It's one of my favorites. Whenever I ask a question where the correct answer is it depends, and the first answer that I get is not it depends, I get a point. If I ask a question and the correct answer is it depends, and someone says it depends, y'all get a point.
One of the constraints of that is what's our incentive?
Just fun.
Okay.
That was an easy. Yeah, maybe pizza at the end of the semester. If y'all win pizza, if I win apples, or no, potluck.
Fun.
That sounds worse than pizza.
It's like a win-win situation.
That's the way we like to set it up. What's up, Rhetoric? Oh man, we're going too slow through this, but that was a good. What does Vatz say? The Rooster says. Yeah, Vatz says. Yeah, the Rooster didn't have a problem until he made it a problem. No, yeah, there was no problem until the Rooster. No, okay. Yes, who creates the situation? Speaker creates the situation, and what most specifically, what aspect of the rhetorical situation is the speaker creating? Yes, I like that. I mean, of because they're not really creating the, well, they're kind of creating the rhetorical audience. They choose the exigence. So exigence isn't just in the world. The speaker is choosing the exigence. They create the exigence with their language. I really like this the more I think about this, the power of this. For example, finding a job, which we said is just like an exigence that's out there, becomes or could become something like contributing to the welfare of narwhals on a high functioning team, on a high functioning team where I can contribute. I'm just saying, like, your exigence could be whatever you want it to be. It depends. What's your exigence? It depends. No. That was too soon. Yeah, I'm not ready yet. Okay, I found this important and inspiring when I thought about this after, because what's the word that Vatz says? When I choose the exigence that I want to pursue, what am I choosing? Yeah. He's like, I'm giving something the salience, the big vocabulary word. I choose what's important. Speakers choose what's important. Especially when he says that we never run out of context. There's a lot of context we could choose from. So what I make important is based on things that I care about. Okay, what do Bitzer and Vatz have in common? They both said a lot of words, and it is something about situations. Rhetoric is in some ways intimately connected with situations. For Vatz, rhetoric creates the situations, and for Bitzer, rhetoric responds to situations. So any other insight here? And maybe we could, some interesting ones that I saw on the forum when I looked at them. How many people said Team Vatz if you already did the forum? Team Bitzer? Somewhere in between? I saw someone say that like the time span makes the difference. So if it's an urgent problem, then Bitzer works. If you have more time to think about it, then Vatz. I haven't seen that in 7 years of teaching this material. Someone else said personal problems are more about Vatz. Social problems are more about Bitzer. I haven't seen that response really either. So I'm thinking one way to improve or revise your work, and we can look at some of these, is to get specific about how and where you think these would work or where they don't. Cool. Okay. Any insights or questions on this that we didn't get to that you want to get to? All right, we're cruising. I wanted to look at a student example from the first discussion forum, but I just wanted to share with you my biggest reactions. And I'm curious. I have a question for you. Why big blocks of text? Why not use paragraphs?
It's just like, I don't know what it is, but
It depends. Oh, 1 point. No, just joking. Actually, that wasn't one. We're still 0-0. Sorry, Daniel. Go ahead.
feels like one sentence. Give a prompt and you're like, respond to this.
I like that. The discussion forum itself kind of lends it to blocks of text, especially if you're like 1 block of text, 2 block of text, 3 block of text. Okay, so I like that. We'll see if that changes in these other ones. Yeah.
Well, the paragraph start has to be very distinctive with the previous thoughts of the discussion. It's not always super distinct.
Love it. That was the insight that I got. And you learned to transition between your paragraphs too, right? That's terrible advice. Especially if you don't need a transition. And oftentimes, so I would just encourage you to not use blocks of text for the rest of the semester. Just use the enter key more. Why do you all like reading giant blocks of text? Why not? It's overwhelming and it's not easy. So how do you improve your writing? Thinking about the audience's situation, you make it easier for them and less overwhelming. How do you do that? More paragraphs help. Also, headings sometimes help, or even bolding things maybe to draw attention to that. I literally would rather you turn in a response where you do a new paragraph every sentence, which interestingly, people are writing like that online now. I don't know if you've noticed that if you're on mailing lists where it's like sentence, enter, sentence, enter, sentence, enter, why? This is how we read right now. We just waited for you to come back.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh my God. I was like, please no.
No. We were just saying that I'm encouraging you to use paragraphs as much as possible. Annalise, I'm curious about your reactions. Yeah.
And it's just like, like having to put in excess words to get your thought into the next was just like so unnecessary.
I would encourage you to not do any transitions unless when you reread your work, you go like, wait a minute, how did I get from there to there? Like if you were like, wait a minute, or someone else is like, I don't understand, like you were doing this and then you were doing this, that jump lost me. Then you need a transition. Absent of that, it does just seem like extra words, right? Which, Ella, yeah. And I'm telling you, I prefer one sentence paragraphs. Why did they give us those? Why teach students transitions and everything in high school?
It's easier for everyone does the exact same format.
And it's easier to grade. Writing is really hard to grade. It's really hard to grade thought.
Just say it's like art.
Art?
No, like how can you tell something's art is shitty?
Yeah, I think it is part art, but that's why I like Bitzer, because it's not about what you think it is, it's about what the audience thinks it is. So if the audience doesn't think it's art, you better not be all artistic in your cover letter. You know what I mean? So it's kind of up to them. Okay, this gives us to my next point that I'm going to see. And this is what my last class said was the most important thing when I asked them. It's these two words together, writing economy. Have we seen this before? Okay. Writing economy is really, we know what fluff is, right? It's when you add words to a paper to meet a page requirement. It's terrible. And people in the real world hate that. Why? It's a waste of their time. So writing economy is basically how much you say in how little space. Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's actually really good. So something with really good writing economy is when you say a lot in a little space. Bad writing economy is when you don't say very much in a big space. Yeah. Again, and why do we do this? What constraint are we playing to when we improve our writing economy? The audience's time, attention span, and ease. It makes it easier to not wade through like, wait, can you just get to the point, please? Yeah, Annalise. Did you still, you had a wait so, and I wanted to tie this back to constraints.
Well, I did just like where's the balance? Like explaining each.
It's a really, really good question. I'd say the answer to that is,
Like for example, when you said someone said the world and you're like, what is real world?
yeah, I mean, how much should you explain your work? Kind of depends. You might also, yeah, I'll give you a point. You're up 1-0. I think the other really interesting point to add to yours, Annalise, is we do this with, it's all about how specific we can be. Specific is valuable. Specific. And interestingly, the more specific we get, usually the longer our writing gets. So it's this balancing act of saying really good specific things. That's okay, that's what we're going for. Cool. Okay. I think those are the main two things. Let's take a look at this as an example. Oh, right, I didn't put, in terms of style, I put active voice in here. How many of us have done a little bit of active versus passive voice? Active voice means that there's an action verb. The most important sentence, the most important word in any sentence is the verb in terms of your style. Yeah, we will. What's that? We want active voice. It usually helps our writing economy and makes your reading more engaging and active. Here's passive voice. I would just, the way I think about this and where I see it is whenever you use is or are as the verb, it's passive because no one's doing anything. This is going to be the biggest way to improve your style in editing and to cut words out of your writing. Yes, then is. You also can use, actually, this is maybe the best way to do this, Hemingway editor. Has anybody used this before? Pretty cool. Let's do it with this one. They'll help you point out passive voice and active voice. But before we do that. Okay, here we go. After reading and analyzing the article, I believe that Edmondson's main argument that is, if you want a real education, you're going to have to fight for it. Okay, first, we want to delete any unnecessary clauses. Anything that we can delete without losing any meaning, we want to delete it because it's going to improve our writing economy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so we can delete I believe. I believe that. What else can we delete? Why? Yeah, it's implied. And literally the answer is because you don't need it. And if I delete it and I don't lose anything, I can delete it. Edmondson's main argument is if you want a real education, you're going to have to fight for it. What's the verb in this sentence? Is, so it's passive. How do I rewrite the sentence to delete that is? Ooh, I like argues or claims or states or says or writes. All of those are active, but I like argues because they have argument in here already. So instead of Edmondson's main argument is, I'm replacing Edmondson's main argument is with argues. Edmondson argues. Just normal guy into argues. No, terrible joke. Terrible joke. Edmondson argues. If you want a real education, you're going to have to fight for it. Yes. That's really good. So good. I'm going to leave it as its own paragraph. Enter. Okay, next one. That statement acts as the first part of his argument, which is his claim. I don't think I need that sentence. And the second part of his argument is his reasons. The first one being that. Being that is another way of saying is. So this is another passive construction. Now, honestly, I can't think about how I'm going to do this without the is. So I'm just going to keep the is on this one. It's not, you don't need to get rid of passive voice all the time. You can still keep some passive voice. So how might I revise this? Ooh, you could. He also argues that students do not help themselves. Actually, here's a better way to edit this. What do I not want to delete? Okay, no, I'm sorry. I only want to look at this sentence right here. Oh, by the way, a really good writing advice is to just keep all of your sentences as separate paragraphs. Then put them together. Literally, it's a book called A Few Short Sentences About Writing. I almost thought of assigning it because it's really lucid and it really does help. Whenever you're stuck, putting your sentences on different lines helps you see them. I love this. That's actually really well written. So I'm not going to delete that, but I can delete the rest of this. And I'm going to say his first reason is that. Yes. His first reason being, but it's fine. I could also do something like this.
I thought that you could only set it if you're making a list.
That's another rule that people break all the time. Okay, his second reason is teachers are in it for themselves and they do not want or care to teach students. Here's another, whenever you have two words doing the same thing, you can delete one of them to improve your economy. Which one would you choose, want or care? I like care too. They only want to do research in white papers, new paragraph. The last or third reason, which one of these do we want to keep? Ooh, I can get rid of all this and go admin at the university, delete, just want to protect themselves and their image, delete and their image. They do not care about students. Short sentences are very powerful. Yeah, KJ.
I guess that what I'm getting rid of the fluff kind of makes it more related.
Yes.
It's supposed to just be like rather than here's like the
I'm really glad you asked that question, because now that I have this, it's giving me more room to add to it as well. So it's not just that it needs to be boop, 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 but as soon as I see boop, 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 I can say his first reason is all they care about partying. And then I can say, whoops, he says, and then put a quote in there and you can cite that quote. Actually, I don't need Edmondson because I already said that. And this doesn't seem to be true in all cases. So or something like that, right? It's not that it needs to be boop, boop, boop. It's just by eliminating the fluff out of it and seeing the structure gives us an idea of where we could add more to it. Yeah, Nick and then Ella. Fragments can be stylistic choices. I think it depends on whether or not you know that you're doing it. Yeah, I think it depends. It's a stylistic choice.
So there's a little bit of trouble about
Rumble.
I mean,
Yeah.
you would prefer us probably to get our point across and do a good job and get rid of the fluff as opposed to beating the word count.
I would, well, yeah, let's do this. I hereby get rid of all page length requirements for everything in this class. I'm not going to adjust the syllabus because even the discussions. However, they are recommendations and guidelines for what I would use. And when in doubt, how do you add more words to your work? No. More questions and more quotes. On the student piece, I could be like, hey, is this really true though? Because this seems like a generalization to me. Integrate it. What's the answer to that? It depends. So yeah, if I would do that. So yeah, if it makes it easier for you to do that, I would do that. Yep. There's more elegant ways to do it than that, but honestly, for like assignment like this, it doesn't matter. Like I would just do that. Okay, I would, when I was looking at this, I feel like the only real paragraph break is this one. And I might actually put a heading on this. Why? Makes it easier on the reader. Okay. Yeah, that's what someone said in my last. I'm like, what did you take from this? And someone last was like, you really cut out a lot or something. I was like, this is, you got to be harsh. Okay, this was actually a really, the other reason why I chose this is the ideas are actually really, they've presented the argument fairly well and their reaction was pretty good. But by cutting out all of that fluff, it gave them more room to say more. And that's what I'm hoping that you can do. Yes, so you have a discussion post. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more thing I want to say. The reading on Wednesday is an example of a rhetorical analysis that I want you to pay attention to. It deals with abortion. If you do, on Wednesday, if you do not want to read an article about abortion, please find a different article to read and do reading notes over. And we're going to be discussing that article on Wednesday. So if you want to avoid that topic, you can just do something else. See ya.
Daniel, let me. Daniel. Don't forget Scott. Yeah.